Welcome back to Managing Asia. Some of the world's most polluting countries are here in Asia. Our next story is about a man who wants to organize the biggest cleanup of our oceans.
A lot of the researchers found that closing the loop on plastics and other materials like steel and commodities like food could really make a massive difference.
Rob Kaplan, a man on a mission. He launched the first ever investment fund to tackle plastic waste that's choking the world's oceans.
We are so excited to launch Circulate Capital Ocean Fund here in Singapore today because we are focused on investing in companies, technologies, and projects that prevent plastic pollution in South and Southeast Asia.
The crisis is this: 60% of ocean plastic originates from Asia, according to an Ocean Conservancy report.
What we're seeing in Southeast Asia, there is a big challenge with marine and ocean waste and the leakage of all sorts of types of packaging materials into those environments.
8 million tons a year get into the ocean of plastic, and there's about 150 million tons in there right now. That 8 million tons is the same as a garbage truck dumping a load of plastic into the ocean every minute.
Southeast Asian nations are starting to take action, but Kaplan wants to speed things up in the private sector, pulling in large corporations like Coca-Cola, Danone, Procter & Gamble, Unilever and Dow.
I think it is important for us as the industry, how can we so-called transition from the linears to be circulars. The issue is not the plastic, the issue is waste plastic. And this is what we need to really addressing, ensuring that we find solution on the waste plastics.
Now's the time for industry really to step up and invest more in the areas that absolutely need that kind of investment.
So we've made a commitment to ensure that all of our packaging worldwide is made from 50% recycled content by the year 2030. As we think about collection, we've made a public commitment at Coca-Cola to collect the equivalent, 100% of the equivalent of every bottle and can that we put in the marketplace and sell by the year 2030.
Coke admits a lot more needs to be done.
We've made some good progress, but the problem is the progress is uneven. So in some parts of the world, we're making a lot of progress in collection, and we're making a lot of progress in the use of recycled PET in our packaging. In fact, in Australia, we're making packaging for some brands, including Coca-Cola, with 100% recycled material. In the Philippines, we have our water brand there that's made from 100% recycled material. But there are some parts of, particularly this region, where we don't have the collection and the recycling infrastructure that we need. And if we did have it, we don't have the end markets, so we don't have the demand for it. So that's why we're looking to work with Circulate Capital and other partners to fill in the gaps in that circularity to create a more even infrastructure and markets across Asia Pacific so we can achieve these goals.
But could all this be just a drop in the ocean? Circulate Capital founder believes it can solve half the polluting problem in oceans in 10 years' time.
Most of our investments will be in startup, waste recycling, and circular economy companies. So these are the companies that take the waste that currently gets into the ocean and adds value to it and turns it into a new material or a new product that can be made into packaging and products for the future.
Kaplan also co-founded Closed Loop Partners, a platform for impact investing in North America. Previously, he had worked for Walmart, helping to eliminate 20 million metric tons of greenhouse gas from its supply chain. Now based in Singapore, I met up with him for more details of his latest venture. You've raised $106 million, and your investors include big companies, big global companies like PepsiCo, Coca-Cola, Unilever, Procter & Gamble. How easy was it to raise that capital, considering that your fund has no track record?
Yeah, well, I think it's a testament to how urgent this problem is. And it was, I'd say, not easy, but it did happen fast. Probably less than a year, we were able to get those commitments. And it's because there isn't anybody else investing in this space. We started by looking at that question, who else is here, who else is investing, and if large-scale infrastructure funds were already allocating capital to waste and recycling, then we wouldn't need to exist. But our goal is to actually catalyze their investment and activity here.
Are you happy with the size of the fund? You think you can continue to raise more money?
We're focused on the 106 we have right now. But the problem is many more than the 100 million we have. We actually need many billions of dollars allocated to waste and recycling across South and Southeast Asia. Ours is just that first institutional capital in to demonstrate that this is an investable sector. So we've looked at almost 300 different investment opportunities around the region. There's sort of two categories of companies we're pretty excited about. There's your startup waste and recycling companies. They've never raised institutional capital before, maybe need $1 to $5 million to professionalize what they're doing. New facility, new equipment, working capital, things like that. And then you also have your SMEs. These are organizations and companies that have been operating in waste and recycling for 15 to 20 years as really family businesses. And we're starting to see that next generation of leadership come in and opportunity for growth.
Startups is a bit of a risky business, isn't it? I mean, they could be thriving one day in a couple of years' time. I mean, they could be down the drain the other.
Yes.
What are some of the risks involved? How mindful are you of the risks involved when it comes to investing in these startups?
Sure.
When it comes to recycling and waste management?
Yeah, any investment has risks associated with it. Within the sectors we're talking about, there are three primary risks that we look at in any investment opportunity. There's your feedstock risk. Where is that material coming from? There's your operational risk. And then there's your offtake risk. Who's going to buy that material at the end of the day? And one of the things that's unique about our model is our partnership with the large corporates like PepsiCo, Coca-Cola, Unilever, Danone, Dow, because they actually want access to that recycled material for their own value chains and supply chains. And so by acting as almost an investor in those supply chains, we're able to remove one of the biggest risk factors, which is who's going to buy this material at the end.
The whole premise of your fund is, of course, to demonstrate that you can actually turn waste into value. And as a fund, you need to generate attractive financial returns. What are you promising your investors?
Yeah, we've targeted mid to high single-digit IRR for this fund.
What sort of time frame are you looking at?
It's a 10-year fund. The reality is that our corporate LPs, they don't really need to make a lot of money on something like this. This isn't how Coca-Cola or Unilever or Procter & Gamble generates a return for their investors. But they need to see that these value chains are developed. That's how they will be successful over the long run. So what they're looking for is not just tons of plastic pollution prevented so that they can hit their goals, but also that we can demonstrate that we can bring in other investors over time.
So financial returns are not as important?
Well, it's both and, unfortunately. We're held to a double standard. We need the environmental impact and the financial returns.
So at the end of the day, how much can your fund help solve the ocean plastics crisis?
Yeah. Investing and capital providing is only one part of the solution. Often when you're talking about how can we solve this problem, who's going to pay for it is a key barrier. So we're able to take that barrier off of the table, but there's still other challenges that need to happen, and there's public sector and policy related, there's community engagement and consumer education. All of those things will contribute to the solutions. I'm hopeful that we'll be able to cut the amount of plastic getting into the ocean in half over the next 10 years.
And how do you measure the progress then?
One of the good things about investing in this sector is that every company we're looking at is managing tons of plastic waste. It's how they make money. So it's not a separate thing, it's actually integrated into their business. And the challenge is, where is that plastic coming from and where is it going? So that's part of how we provide technical assistance and put that measurement into place for every investment we're making.